Imagine a man with a limp, born into poverty, who rose to become the fierce heart of a nation's fight against slavery. Thaddeus Stevens, scarred by loss and driven by an unyielding belief in equality, stood in the halls of Congress, his voice a thunderclap against injustice. During the Civil War, he didn't just fight for victory, he demanded a revolution to make every man free. Risking his fortune and enduring personal tragedy, feel the weight of his resolve as he defied presidents, burned bridges, and sacrificed everything to forge a new America where the chains of slavery could never be reforged. His story isn't just history, it's a call to stand for what's right, no matter the cost. Thaddeus Stevens, April 4, 1792, August 11, 1868, was a pivotal figure in American history. Known for his fierce abolitionism, leadership in the radical Republican faction, and significant contributions during the Civil War and Reconstruction. Below is a comprehensive overview of his life, with a detailed focus on his role during the Civil War. As requested, early life and background, birth and childhood. Born in Danville, Vermont, Stevens grew up in poverty with a physical disability that caused a lifelong limp. His father, Joshua Stevens, was an alcoholic who abandoned the family when Thaddeus was 12. Leaving his mother, Sarah Stevens, to raise 4 sons. Sarah worked tirelessly to provide education, enrolling Thaddeus in Peacham Academy and later Dartmouth College, where he excelled and graduated in 1814 as commencement speaker. Early career. After teaching briefly, Stevens studied law, the Maryland bar in 1816, and established a successful law practice in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. His sharp rhetoric and sarcasm made him a formidable attorney. He also became a businessman, owning property and founding ironworks, including Caledonia Forge. Personal life. Stevens never married but raised his nephews, Thaddeus Jr. and Allinson. After their parents died, Allinson died in the Civil War at Chickamauga, and Stevens used his influence to secure Thaddeus Jr. a position as provost marshal in Lancaster. Stevens had a long-term relationship with Lydia Hamilton Smith, a black housekeeper and confidant who some historians speculate was his common-law wife. Their home in Lancaster was a stop on the Underground Railroad. Civil War, political career, and abolitionism. Entry into politics. Stevens entered politics in 1822 as president of Gettysburg's Borough Council and later served in the Pennsylvania State Legislature 1833 to 1841 as an anti-Masonic Party member. He opposed Freemasonry, Jacksonian Democrats, and slavery while supporting banks. Internal improvements and public education. Abolitionist activities. Stevens developed a deep hatred for slavery after witnessing its brutality in Maryland. By 1837, he was an avowed abolitionist, refusing to sign Pennsylvania's Constitution due to its disenfranchisement of black citizens. He defended fugitive slaves pro bono, harbored escapees in his home, and ran an anti-slavery spy ring in southeastern Pennsylvania, infiltrating bounty hunter networks. His ironworks employed free black men and freedom seekers. Congressional tenure. Pre-war. Elected to the U.S. House of Representatives as a Whig, 1849 to 1853. Stevens advocated for tariff increases and opposed the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. He joined the emerging Republican Party, aligning with its anti-slavery wing role in the Civil War. 1861 to 1865, Stevens was a dominant figure during the Civil War, serving as a radical Republican in the House of Representatives. 1859 to 1868, and chairman of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. His contributions were critical to the Union's war effort and the abolition of slavery. Here are the full details. Legislative and financial leadership. War financing. As chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Stevens was instrumental in funding the Union war effort. He structured emergency loans, crafted legislation to streamline war expenditures, and ensured efficient payment for volunteers. His financial acumen was vital in sustaining the Union's military campaigns confiscation acts in 1861. Stevens facilitated the passage of the first Confiscation Act, allowing the federal government to seize property, including slaves, from those supporting the Confederacy. This act was a significant step toward abolition, as it enabled the Union to confiscate enslaved people, effectively freeing them. He later supported the Second Confiscation Act, 1862, which further expanded these powers' push for emancipation. Advocacy for arming black soldiers. Stevens was a relentless advocate for arming black men, believing it was essential to defeating the Confederacy. In June 1863, he wrote to his nephew, urging the incitement of slave insurrections to give the rebels a taste of real civil war, and argued that arming enslaved people was the only way to exterminate the rebellion. He pressured President Abraham Lincoln to issue the Emancipation Proclamation and recruit black soldiers, a policy that proved crucial to the Union's success. With nearly 200,000 black troops serving by war's end, 13th Amendment, Stevens played a key role in drafting and passing the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery nationwide. Introduced by James Ashley in December 1863, Stevens proposed a version in March 1864 that explicitly annulled the Fugitive Slave Clause and added forever to the prohibition of slavery. When the amendment faced Democratic opposition in the House, Stevens delivered closing remarks in the debate, helping secure its passage in January 1865. Opposition to Lincoln's moderation colonization. Opposition. Stevens opposed Lincoln's early plans to colonize freed slaves abroad, though he occasionally supported emigration proposals for political reasons. He believed black Americans should remain in the U.S. with full rights radical stance. Unlike Lincoln, who moved cautiously to maintain public support, Stevens was uncompromising, often ahead of public opinion. He viewed the war as a chance for a second American Revolution to create a multiracial democracy. His radicalism sometimes put him at odds with Lincoln, whom he saw as too conciliatory personal sacrifices, financial loss. In June 1863, Confederate General Jubal Early burned Stevens's Caledonia ironworks near Gettysburg, costing him $75,000. Stevens took the loss philosophically, stating that if the war ended slavery, it was a cheap purchase personal tragedy. His nephew Unsung, a captain in a Pennsylvania artillery unit, was killed at the Battle of Chickamauga in 1863. A personal blow that deepened Stevens's resolve. Reconstruction and post-war effort. Stevens's influence peaked during Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877, where he led the radical Republicans in reshaping the South and securing rights for freedmen. Opposition to Andrew Johnson. Stevens fiercely opposed President Andrew Johnson's lenient Reconstruction policies, which allowed former Confederates to regain power. In December 1865, Stevens and clerk Edward McPherson prevented Southern congressmen, pardoned by Johnson, from taking their seats, preserving Republican control and enabling Reconstruction reforms. 14th Amendment. As a member of the Joint Committee on Reconstruction, Stevens helped draft the 14th Amendment, 1866. Guaranteeing due process and equal protection under the law. He was disappointed that it did not fully secure voting rights for black men and allowed states to restrict suffrage based on race military Reconstruction Acts. Stevens was instrumental in passing the Military Reconstruction Acts of 1867, which placed the South under military governance to enforce Reconstruction policies and protect freedmen's rights. Land reform advocacy. Stevens proposed confiscating Southern plantations and redistributing land to freedmen, endorsing the 40 acres and a mule concept. He believed economic equality was essential for true freedom. But Congress rejected this plan. Johnson's impeachment, viewing Johnson as an obstacle to Reconstruction. Stevens introduced the resolution to impeach him in 1868 and chaired the committee drafting the articles. He was deeply disappointed by Johnson's acquittal. Legacy and death. Stevens died on August 11, 1868, in Washington, D.C., too ill to return to Pennsylvania. His body lay in state in the Capitol Rotunda, an honor previously given only to Lincoln and Henry Clay. Over 20,000 people attended his funeral in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He requested burial in a black cemetery in Lancaster to symbolize his commitment to racial equalities. Stevens was a towering figure in the fight for racial justice, instrumental in passing the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. His vision of a multiracial democracy was radical for his time, and his reputation suffered after Reconstruction's collapse in 1877. However, modern historians recognize him as a Civil War revolutionary who laid the groundwork for civil rights. Your ultimate destination for powerful stories, historic battles, and fearless military leaders who shaped the world. Whether you're passionate about history, strategy, or modern warfare, Military Legends HQ is where bravery meets knowledge. Subscribe and join our growing army of military history fans.